Today we're looking at America joining the Great War. Make sure you follow Edmodo, my website for the notes, and also YouTube for these clips. In the first years of the war, America remained neutral. They were not involved in any type of fighting for the most part. What they will do is to provide supplies, mainly food and medical supplies. However, with Woodrow Wilson as president, he wanted to remain neutral and stay out of the war. And as Germany starts to harm shipping lanes off the North Sea around Great Britain, then America's going to step away from providing food and supplies for all parties and start helping out more so with Great Britain and France. Now, from a government standpoint, America was more like Great Britain and France than they were like Germany and Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire. So it's a lot easier to have alliances there. But from a public point of view, America has people from all over the world, especially all over Europe. So it's very hard for the public to choose sides one way or the other. Now, one thing that does happen is we have a group that goes over with John Blackjack Pershing. He's part of the American Expeditionary Force. And they're able to go over there and fight before America gets fully involved in the war. Now, what brings America into war? Well, one of the biggest reasons is unrestricted submarine warfare. And Germany had what they called their silent killers, and that was their U-boats. And in 1915, a German U-boat, in the process of trying to sink any ship that could aid Great Britain, will sink a passenger ship called the Lusitania. And when they sink the ship, it kills 128 Americans, along with other Europeans. And this upsets greatly the United States as well as parts of Europe because this was not a military ship. Now, Germany, following the 1915 sinking of Lusitania, will stop the attacks on non-military ships after the Americans protest. But by 1917, they're still losing the war, and they will again intensify their submarine warfare with their U-boats. And so by 1917, they've gone back to what's called unrestricted submarine warfare. And unrestricted submarine warfare is when the Germans would sink any ship without warning around British waters. It didn't matter what it was carrying. If it was carrying food or fertilizer or guns, all those things are helping Great Britain and its allies win the war. And so Germany thought that they could starve Great Britain of its resources, then ultimately they could get them to end their involvement in the war. But what ultimately happens is a kind of reversal of that. Public opinion turns against Germany because now they're going against innocent individuals, and Great Britain only has better morale in trying to beat Germans. Now, the United States, on the other hand, still wants to remain neutral. Woodrow Wilson is trying to get reelected for president in 1918, and so he's trying to stay out of the war. However, opinion will change with the Zimmerman Note. The Zimmerman Note is when Germany's foreign minister, Arthur Zimmermann, writes a coded telegram to Mexico. And in that telegram, it's decoded by the United States. And Mexico is offered by Germany help to keep U.S. out of war. So essentially, Germany wants Mexico to occupy the United States, to be an annoyance, a bully to them, so that they don't go to Europe and fight Germany and help win the war for the Allies. Now, they offer Mexico in return for this monetary support. They want to give them money, and they'll give them lands that they lost to the United States, Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. Now, the United States gets wind of this. They understand what's going on, and they basically present the facts to Mexico and tell them not to make any action with it. And then they go and declare war against Germany and the Central Powers on April 2nd, 1917. So almost 3 years into the war, the United States will finally join. And what are they going to bring with them? They're going to bring a lot of resources that will help win the war for the Allies. First off, they help it make a total war, where countries are devoting all of their resources to the war effort. This includes the biggest resource for America, and that is its people. Every citizen is put to work. Women will start to take jobs in factories while the men go to fight. And what are they doing there? They're using what they learned from the Industrial Revolution, industrialization, and factories are going to produce goods at rapid rates. Another thing is fabrication. Fabrication is where you make something off-site and then assemble it somewhere else. So the best example of this would be ships. Different parts for ships were made all across the United States, and then they were transferred to a harbor where the ship would be built together. So it's kind of like Lego pieces being brought to different locations and brought together to make one big uh, ship. And that's what they're doing. Other things that they used were rationing to control the amounts of goods for the war effort. So you think about gas. They were encouraging people to carpool, to ride together to save on gas so that that gas could be used for the war effort. They also wanted to suppress anti-war activity. In doing so, that made sure that the morale was good, that everybody was behind the effort to go and fight the war and win the war. And the other thing was propaganda. Propaganda was big in World War One. And next I'm going to show you two examples of propaganda posters. These are used to persuade support for the war. And now these two are mainly looking at how to enlist. The one on the left is showing a German monster that is crossing the ocean, leaving behind a devastated Europe and bringing its culture over to club and beat the Americans. And as it's done so, it's brought over the innocents that it's holding in its hands, in this case a woman. And basically it's showing if you don't enlist in the U.S. Army, this monster is going to come to American shores and destroy. And then my favorite one is the British poster here to enlist. It shows the innocence and purity of a mother and child drowning as a result of Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare off the coast of Great Britain. And its simple message, enlist. What's it trying to say? Germany is killing innocent women and children. To stop this, you must enlist. So these are examples of propaganda posters. They're part of the U.S. involvement in World War I. We looked today at how the U.S. got into World War I. Next, we're going to look at how the war finally comes to an end and the complications with the Treaty of Versailles. Make sure you're following up on YouTube and Edmodo to keep up with your assignments.